I love that. Can you imagine if Picard called him? I love when they do the thing where they have him like spin around in a chair and his eyes are already buggy and he's like, Picard! Like he's just like, he looks insane. That actor.
It's like no one does that,
No.
but
Except Gowron.
except for Gowron and then like, I don't know, Dr. Evil or somebody.
He likes to dramatically turn around and show you his giant eyes. Like it is just
he likes
so
to
bad.
like brutally assault you with those eyes.
so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just thinking about that. Like that's who they ended up calling, and he's like, "Wah." Anyway.
Oh gosh. So main engineering now. Geordi and Data have this. I have to say, I love whenever there's a scene between Geordi and Data in a Star Trek episode because it usually involves Geordi trying to explain something to Data about human nature and things that people do, and Data really trying to figure it out, like trying to understand how humans do stuff. And so here, Geordi and Data have a conversation about how people use like their gut or their instinct, and they combine it with the facts that they have at hand to come to a conclusion. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you sat down to really think out the thought process of how you as a person individually use your gut or your instinct to come to a decision, you could probably never come up with a explanation that clear. But it is so well laid out by the writers here of how people do that, to the point that like Data is able to grasp this concept of like, even though you have these bare facts, you take a leap beyond that based on your own experience and your instinct to arrive at a new decision. I don't know. I love these conversations between Geordi and Data. They're some of my favorite parts of Star Trek for me.
Because they're BFFs.
They are BFFs.
They definitely talk like BFFs. And yeah, I got that same feeling from this scene, that it was very heartfelt. And the way that you're talking about it sounds like there's lots of these throughout the series. So
Yeah.
definitely have to dive into more of these.
Yeah, if you go back and you watch more, they will literally say, like the one I was watching, he's like, Geordi, you are his best friend, talking about Data, or whatever, and they'll say like stuff like that. They'll literally say that because they are.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And also, Geordi is a mechaphile. He's obsessed with machines.
Yeah, that's a very good point, right?
Geordi wants to be intimate with the Enterprise.
Yes.
If he could, he would. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Somehow we go back to this a lot.
Because it's so obvious. Like, how it's like.
I'm not disagreeing. Okay. It's just hilarious.
I'm just saying that the sexual tension between a ship and Geordi is like palpable. That's all I'm saying.
That's ironic too, because like Data would be the one to like. It seems like that would really be able to get that relationship going.
Right? I know.
Oh my God, he just needs to find the data port, right?
Oh no! I mean, he already had his way with Tasha Yar, so he doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't need a spaceship.
That's true. He is fully functional, as he's told Tasha.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sex with robots.
Yes.
So in Picard's ready room, Geordi and Data are showing him what they've discovered from the probe. There is a low level. Here comes the technobabble, which I love so much. Low level subspace emissions, you guys. And as we all know, these are not naturally occurring. They are man-made. Everybody knows that. Along with ionization disturbances. And Geordi says the only way to tell what's actually going on is for us to go there and see for ourselves what is happening, because I can't tell you what it is. So again, we don't have clear answers from anything yet, but all the evidence seems to point to something is happening on Nelvana 3. And so Picard is coming to a point where he has to make a decision of will they go there or not. So, excuse me. We get this scene in 10 Forward where Sital is like having a drink and Data is just staring at him, like dead on, full staring at this guy. And Sital's like, why are you doing that? And Data says he's trying to ascertain what his guts tell him about the Romulans.
I just love that he said, instead of just saying,
his guts.
Instead of saying, I'm trying to use my intuition with you, he's like, I'm trying to figure out what my guts are saying about you. What? It's such
a great Data scene, because Data's always trying to, like, of course, copy humans and mimic them, and he's trying to, like, see if he has a gut instinct. You know, what do his guts tell? And I like how Sital tells him that he knows a lot of Romulan cyberneticists who would love to be this close to Data, and Data says, "Yeah, I don't really like that idea at all." And then Sital gets a little homesick. He's like, "Oh, I'm never going to see all these places again." And Data's like, "Oh, well, maybe we can bring Romulus to you." So he brings Sital to the holodeck, and he recreates the most 90s looking planetscape I have ever seen in my entire life.
Are you saying that this looked like the backdrop to one of your school photos or something?
I'm saying that all it was missing was Rebecca with braces and teased hair and a fist under her chin. That's all it was missing. And it would have been a school picture. That's what I'm saying. You know? Or the one with the laser beams, the pink laser beams. Did you have that one? I had that one.
No, I had teal laser beams. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I had a teal sweatshirt that had like the little half zip on it.
Oh.
So it matched. It was pretty cool.
Right.
I did have like fuchsia, like pink and purple ones at one point in time, but yeah. I forgot about that.
Tell us about your school backdrops that you've had. This is the part of the show where we talk about this every episode by numbers.
I think my pictures were like outdoor ones. And so it's probably me standing next to like an old wagon or some stupid shit like that. Stuff.
That's what they do in the Midwest.
I think you're going to beat me on that one.
You're so Midwest. You have your picture taken next to a wagon.
Right.
Did you have like an axe in your hand and like you were like gonna chop down a tree, Muriel?
He's got a piece of like straw or whatever in his mouth, or toothpick or something.
Oh man.
There's definitely people in my class that had pictures like that taken.
Oh boy.
Were you wearing shoes? And I say this as a Kentuckian.
Oh my god. Were you wearing shoes?
Shucks, we just got running water last week.
That's awesome. Excuse me. So, Sital is like, this is really great for me to take my school pictures here, but I don't live here anymore. I can never go back to Romulus. And he's like, nope, I have to be realistic. I don't live there anymore. And he ends the program. And then he tells Data, arrange a meeting with Captain Picard because Admiral Jirac wants to talk to him. So here's the big twist here. He is not a low-level, a clerk, which we kind of all guessed.
Yeah, I mean, this shows where the attitude was coming from, like the kind of the sense of superiority he had, like the weird way that like he kind of like characterized Worf, after they were getting in that argument earlier, and he's like, I relate with him. He's a warrior.
Oh, he said, I like him. And it's like, what? And he's like, he's a warrior.
Yeah, I understand him. He's a warrior. Yeah.
Like, weird.
Yeah.
But you're right, because it does tie into what we're about to learn about Admiral Jirac, how he is a real, like, he's like the dogs of war kind of guy, right? Like he's like Eisenhower. He's like, and we'll fight them on the beaches of Normandy. Like he's that guy. And so he does respect Worf as a warrior because he's a warrior too. He's a strategist. And we're about to find out that he was basically the leader of what the Federation calls the massacre of the Norcan outpost, which Admiral Jirok is like, that's funny because back home we called that the Norcan campaigns. And he does drop a line in this scene between Jirok and Picard where he says, "One world's butcher is another world's hero, and perhaps I am neither one." And I don't know about you guys, but this whole scene between Jirok and Picard, for me, was my favorite scene of the whole episode. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved watching these two actors, seasoned character actors, play off each other and have this deep philosophical conversation about how history views you depending on what side of the war you're on. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just loved this. This to me was like classic Star Trek stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very. I'm trying to think of the words. I can't. I've been laughing so hard tonight, you guys. I'm sorry. Like my brain is like out of oxygen. It's sort of the heart of Star Trek. That's kind of what I'm trying to say because, yes, it's a science fiction show and yeah, there's starships and all that. And we talk about this all the time, but really it's a show about like relationships with other people who are different with you and other cultures and how you can relate with them. And it just happens to be set in space on starships and there's lasers and stuff. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of heart. And soul. It has both.
Yes.
And this is one of those scenes that definitely shows that off. And obviously, when you've got great actors, it's always a sight to see.
Hmm. Yeah, because Picard even tells him, "Oh, yeah, you said that you defected because you just want peace," and he says, "But you're not a man of peace. You're not a man of peace at all." And that's when he brings up the Norcan massacre. And then Picard is like, "Are you ready to help us? Are you ready to really just go all in and show us that we can trust you?" And Jirok keeps saying that he will not betray his people. And Picard gets really angry at him and he's like, "You've already made your choice." And he even says something like, "You've made your choice, sir." Like, he really gets very into it, and he's like, if that makes you uncomfortable, if that's a bitter taste in your mouth, that's not really my problem, because you made your choice. You crossed that line. You decided you wanted to defect. So you can't play both sides anymore. You can't dance on the edge of the neutral zone.
Right.
And we're going to
great line.
Wasn't that the best?
Yeah.
It's because it's like Jirok thinks that, oh yeah, after all this business, then he's going to go back home and see his wife and kid. Like somewhere that's still in his brain that might happen. And that's, as soon as he did this, that was never going to happen. Ever.
Yeah, I think he came to that realization when he was on the holodeck with Data, and even right now while he's talking with Picard, he's still having second thoughts about, he really doesn't want to do that final act of rolling over and start spilling those secrets. But yeah, I mean, that's what needs to happen because he's already a traitor.
Right.
The other Romulans are already going to look at him as a traitor. There is no going back.
Yeah, it's either save your family and everybody you know from possibly being, in the war that might happen, or, go back and be a traitor and have them see you killed. I mean, you don't want that either, right? It's like...
Well, then he also tells Picard... He talks to Picard about his family, right? And he asks Picard, "Do you have children?" And Picard's like, no, bro. Why does everyone ask me that? And he's like, he says to him that,
like, do you see this RBF? I don't like kids.
Yeah.